What is up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And today we need to update the action on this Bitcoin chart because there is a big, fat, glaring indication of something that could be soon to come. So we're going to discuss this, but first and foremost, this is not financial advice. Take this with a grain of salt. I can't predict the market. I'm only sharing with you what I see happening in the chart as it develops. So here we are on the 4-hour chart. And what sticks out like a sore thumb is this formation, which appears to be a bear flag. This would be the flagpole. And as you can see, we have bounced twice off of this bottom area here. There we go, where we wick down to this blue line, bouncing back up. And what do we form? It looks like a great big flag right here. I don't hear anybody talking about this just yet, but be warned that this could play out. And as we know that whenever you have a breakout of these formations, if we touch back down to this bottom line again, we could fall out of it. And what you normally do with these bear flag breakouts is you take the pole and then you slap it over here, and it tells us what we could end up further down below if we have a break to the downside. So let's just scrunch this down a little bit so we can kind of see what we're looking at, redraw this bear flag, and see what could happen if we bounce out of this thing to the downside. If we come back down as we have kind of bounced off of the 50 EMA, which is that orange line. And if we continue to bounce off of that line, which just happens to be right at the black dotted line of death. Yes, this is a bearish indicator. And as we sit right here at this volume node on the VPVR, which is the volume profile of the visible range, which is sitting right at 16,800 and change. If we come out of this, then of course we would take this pole here. Let's just grab this pole and move it over here. And it kind of tells us that we could go down anywhere to the range of, say, 13,500 or below. That's very interesting. So let's clear this out and scrunch this in even more so we can see if we can catch some volume nodes that are below that action point. All right, so there is your volume node sticking out, and there's not much beneath that volume node unless we'll have to scrunch way in on the price action. In fact, let's just jump to the 1-day chart. All right, so here it is on the 1-day chart where you can clearly see that after that big capitulation move, the action of the price line is bouncing around below the black dotted line of death. Now that we have scrunched in all of this previous price history, we can see that you have a lot of volume that is below the 12,000 point. And it kind of peaks out here at the point of control on this visible range of about 9,000. Now here's the thing. We have to consider the fact that the previous peak point here, all right, which was resistance and then resistance again here. If we come on along, we might find support. But if we break down below this level, which is 13,623, things could get uglier. Now, the reason why I'm calling for the caution flag to wave is because we are in the midst of the fallout of the FTX exchange implosion. Now, a lot of people think that it's all over and said and done with. But what we're not realizing is that the implosion of the FTX exchange is going to have a lot of fallout because other exchanges and big holders of FTX that had DeFi loans that were connected to FTX, it's going to spill over and cause a run on those tokens that are being liquidated to cover the losses that they incurred by staking FTX. Now, when we kind of scrunch down the stochastic here, we can see that we are down here in the oversold zone. The stochastic is down here in the bottom. It looks like it's poking up. But look at this. We are down below the zero line on the MACD, and the action has continually trended downward. We have a peak here, and declining peaks as action continues to decline. And now we're below the zero line here. So if we don't gather ourselves and make it back up to the zero line and say make a big cycle up, we could be in for some trouble. And this means that this current little bitty bear flag on the micro could break out and jump down here to this red line or down into the thick of this VPVR. So the word of warning to you is to realize that this could break to the downside, or it could find a bottom and jump back up and head towards this volume node, which is centered right there at 19,374. But we're quite a ways below that. And the current momentum is downward. We are in a bear market, okay? Which means that since this all-time high and this all-time high, the general direction of the market is downward. So with this momentum pushing price downward, the break of this little bear flag could probably edge itself into the higher probability of a break to the downside. We are definitely not out of the woods, and there are other black swan events that could come swooping in, which the next one that I am watching for is some breaking news about Tether not being backed 1-to-1 with the dollar. Now, as Tether has backing that goes outside of USD, where they are backing the value of the Tether token with commercial paper, we know that with the Evergrande fiasco, a lot of the investments that were being held to back up Tether were in the insolvency centered around the Evergrande implosion. Okay, and so if other commercial investments, commercial paper, or holdings have anything to do with or connected to the FTX implosion, that is going to challenge Tether. And it could be the next FUD that comes out to justify a drop downwards. Now, I'm not of the opinion that the TA always dictates the price movement. I am of the belief that the majority of the time, say 80% of the time, the chart reigns supreme. But whenever we have financial calamity, that can override and overrule what the charts are telling us. But the chart is telling us right now that we are still clearly in a downtrend, in a bear market. Now, combine that with this bear flag that we see that was just printed on the chart, we have a chance of dropping lower. So let's keep our eyes on this, as we're hearing from the same old people that keep claiming that the bottom is in. And let's just kind of review that. We heard how many times previously that the bottom was in here. And what do? We broke downwards to this point. And then everyone hollered and screamed, oh, the bottom's absolutely in. And then we had this bear market rally that took us up to the purple dash line, where we were rejected along this descending blue line right here. And notice where that descending blue line has intercepted price before the previous big drop that occurred during the FTX implosion. It's right there. Okay, so that was a rejection. That's a downward sloping line of resistance. Okay, here it is right here. And it leaves us falling off of this volume node that was at 19,000. So here we have dropped again, and now we have the same story. So the people who claimed that this was the bottom, we had the bear market rally. We came back and they said, oh, well, now, absolutely, this is the bottom here. We can see that we have consolidated. We have found the bottom. They were so sure of themselves until we bumped our heads right there at the top of this descending line. What happened next? Capitulation. So here we are again. And what are we hearing from people? Oh, the bottom is in. It's in right now. Go all in on Bitcoin. Well, I'm just going to sit back and watch, because I did not believe it here. I did not believe it here. I did not believe it here, even though I had my doubts. And then by the time we started to run up, I thought it was clear that we were in the midst of a bear market rally, which some did predict. And then we had the big drop. So at this point, I'm going to say yet again, be careful believing what people say that the bottom is in, because we don't know. I don't know, and they don't know. And this is enough evidence right there on that chart to prove to you that when you hear these big mouths who make these bold, ridiculous claims that the bottom is in, while the feds keep hiking rates, while the feds are continuing with quantitative tightening, which is pulling money out of the U.S. economy, which means less money to be invested into the crypto market. My question here before we had the big capitulation, the question I was asking right there was, where is the money going to come from to pump us up into a bull market after that point? Well, the truth was told. The money was not there, and we capitulated down to the current point that we are right now. So I will continue with that and say, where is the money going to come from? Now, in recent news, we are hearing that Michael Saylor has another liquidation point coming up at 13,800, I believe it is, where he's going to have to pony up more money if we fail the current level. But with the economy trending downward and tightening continuing, I think there's a real chance that he might have to pony up more money if this bear flag works out and we break to the downside. So I'm going to call this a 50-50, maybe 51-49, where the probability would have to lean to a break to the downside because we are combining a big indicator on the chart, the bear flag on the micro, with a worsening economic situation where we don't know. We're too far away from December to say that the feds are going to get dovish and reverse things and ease on the raising of interest rates. But we still know that interest rates are going to go up. We're going to get at least a 50 basis point increase. That's not a decrease. It's not a true pivot. It's not a zero, and it's not a cut in rates. Rates are still going to go higher, and they still want to tighten in order to lessen the effect of inflation and get on top of it, where the interest rates are greater than the rate of inflation. So all eyes will be on the next report about what the inflation rate is. And keep in mind, they don't include many things that should go into the formula. They like to disclude things like our food prices, our gas prices, to make it look like we're not worsening when we really are. So if they're covering that up, that leaves us with the question, where is the money going to come from to pump this market? Now, if we do break to the downside and find lower levels for Bitcoin, it's a healthy thing because we're going to get it over with. And then we will find a true bottom, and eventually we're going to emerge from this. It might take months. It might take a year. But the next bull market is coming. Crypto is not going anywhere, and everything will be all right in the long run. But I caution you to be very wary of the people who instill false hopes and confidence that the bottom is in. And just keep in mind, nobody, including myself, knows what is going to happen. So be careful. Instead of digging in your heels and making these grandiose predictions that the bottom has to be in, I think we need to wait it out and just watch the market and be careful. So that's all for this update. I just wanted to alert you of this formation on the chart and wait and watch. And that's about all I've got for now. And I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Pro channel. And I appreciate everyone's continued support. And as a matter of fact, I would like to give a shout out for a recent super thanks. You can help me to defray the cost of producing these videos by submitting a super thanks. And let's give a quick shout out to my man Marvin Witt with a super thanks of $2 on November the 12th of 2022. That's all we've got for this update. I will be back with you calling it as I see it. This is Carlton, and I am out.